Breakable Program. News.
If you do not reside in Nevada, USA, and will not be over the age of 18 on November 6, 2018, you probably don't have to watch this video, but if you are those things or are interested in energy infrastructure and political changes that could happen in your state, you should stay. On November 6th this year, Nevada is going to have its second round of votes on Question 3. If you aren't familiar with Question 3, it is the legislature to minimize regulations on the energy market and eliminate legal energy monopolies. The main monopoly in Question 3 is NV Energy, which if you live almost anywhere in Nevada, you will probably be familiar with NV Energy. If you vote yes on Question 3, it means that you support a constitutional amendment to require the Nevada legislature to establish an open, competitive retail electric energy market, reduce energy market regulations, and prohibit energy monopolies. A no would oppose a constitutional amendment to require the legislature to establish an open and competitive retail energy market. In case you've missed the commercials, each side on the issue wants you to believe that a yes vote will drastically lower your electricity price and bring forth a new wave of innovation in the energy market, taking us one step closer to the utopia we all dreamed of. Or a yes vote would drastically increase your electricity bill and would be the harbinger of a cataclysmic downfall of the state of Nevada, with riots and homelessness raising to a peak the world has never seen. Let me break the news to you, either of these are true. Nevada is not the first state to want to try to implement a restructuring of their energy market, and based on research that others have done, it's pretty inconclusive on whether deregulating their energy market would increase or decrease prices for you as a residential consumer. Just so we can have a bit of structure, let's deconstruct the yes argument on why you should vote for the deregulation of the energy market. This is a quote from John Willenkoff, the Chief Policy Officer at Solar City and former chair of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. He says, Question 3 provides for the possibility of a neutral grid operator and fair and well-regulated competition that reduces lower prices, more green energy options, and advances in energy technology with the power to change the way we live. The measure is an important step forward that creates a foundation of Nevada's green grid of the 21st century. I urge you to look into the facts and vote yes on Question 3. To start his entire argument, which you can also see on the opposition side, is that it has the possibility, and yes, everything he is saying is possible. However, there's a lot in the way of that possibility. To understand why there could and most likely will be issues in achieving this goal, we have to understand what systems we have in place at the moment. Currently, we have a legal monopoly of the energy market that is regulated by the Nevada Public Utilities Commission, which is appointed by the governor to regulate utility prices and other energy policies. As mentioned before, NV Energy is the largest of these geographic monopolies, controlling 90% of the state's energy market. This was an old system in order to incentivize companies to quickly build electrical infrastructure in order to provide services to Nevadans. The faster you built, the more area you were able to control and the more money you were able to make. However, the infrastructure is done now. Most places that need electricity already have it in Nevada, so that's why people are calling for a change in the energy market. However, there is an issue with just immediately opening the market to everyone when you have had a set structure for so long. One of the biggest issues is how you deal with NV Energy. They would most likely have to sell their assets, and yes, a lot of people would lose their jobs because of it, but that could and most likely would be offset by the amount of jobs that are created by other electrical companies looking to expand into the new open market. Essentially, jobs wouldn't be created or destroyed, they would just be under a different company. Speaking of the open market, there's a lot of issues when transitioning into it when you've had a monopoly for so long, but issues can be fixed with money. And guess who's going to have to pay to fix those issues? It's you. You're gonna have to pay to fix those issues. This means higher prices initially, which means a lot of angry people, which means people petitioning for lower prices, which leads to legislature enacting price caps on electricity. It doesn't sound that bad to you because now even through this transition, you're still going to have around the same prices you've always had. But if you switch it around and thought of it as a commission cap for yourself, they suck. Commission caps are the worst because you're expected to output the same amount of work even when you hit your limit. And that's exactly the issue that some states have had. The innovation that was promised at the beginning of the restructure was never fulfilled because electrical companies had no incentive to improve infrastructure when some of them were selling electricity at a loss, and then whenever the price caps were lifted, electrical prices were raised anyway with no improvement. Everything I've been saying up until this point has been pretty negative, but I'm not saying it's not possible that good could come out of restructuring. One of the supporters of Question 3 is Solar City. If you've never heard of Solar City, it is a subsidiary of Tesla, and Tesla was founded by a pretty well-known billionaire billionaire who was ridiculed in the past for dumping money into projects that most others thought were failure time bombs, but he still managed to turn things around. It wouldn't surprise me if Solar City already had plans to expand into Nevada and were willing to sell electricity at a loss if it meant innovation for the future. Just not to put your stock of hope into one company, some other states that did deregulate did see a drop of price for residential customers. The following came from a 2016 ad against Question 3. Question 3 would deregulate Nevada's electric utility system, removing all the limits on what providers could charge. Customers would have to buy their power on the open market and prices could go sky high. Question 3 is just another handout to billionaires at our expense. Question 3 is backed almost entirely by billionaires who would rather change the state constitution than pay their fair share of electricity. It's time to stop handing out funds to the people who need it least and start investing in the middle class, kids, and families. Texas, New York, California, and other states have tried similar plans with disastrous results. In California, market manipulation led to an 800% increase in electricity prices in just 8 months, and to skyrocketing utility bills, rolling blackouts, and the Enron Scandal. It cost ratepayers $45 billion to fix. Prices have gone up in every state that tried deregulation, and Question 3 would create the same mess in Nevada. Question 3 could lead to an immediate and severe increase in electrical rates for residential customers. It hurts everyone, but especially poor Nevadans and rural families by doing away with protections. To get started, the first thing that they talk about is the fact that the utility system would be set in an open market. It's true that prices could skyrocket, but the main deterrent of that is the open market. Almost every other service you purchase is from an open market, and you've been seeing a lot of price reduction and innovation coming from mobile services. T-Mobile began with their unlimited plan, and most other companies, including Verizon, which a few months prior said that they would never give unlimited data because it was unnecessary, started providing unlimited data. That's because of the open market. On the flip side of that, America is known for having one of the worst internet services in a developed country, and that's because there hasn't really been any competition to drive innovation forward. Now it's slowly starting to come around, but still we're paying a lot more for internet for a lot less. That's a bit of a tangent, but my point is that an open market doesn't mean bad, it just means it's an open market. The second thing they talked about is the fact that this is going to be in the Nevada Constitution as an amendment if it does pass, and that actually is a valid point for concern because most of the other states that attempted restructuring have done so with laws and not with amendments. The difference being that an amendment would take precedence over any other law even if it was discovered that restructuring the electrical market would be financially infeasible. Legislature will still have to do it because it is in the Constitution. This is something that could happen, and in order to amend this amendment, it would be a lengthy 2-year process to get the amendment removed with another amendment if everything went perfectly. Although this could be an issue, there is a short-term solution to help alleviate this problem. We'll talk about that after the next talking point. The third thing they brought up were examples of other states that attempted restructuring with disastrous results. Let me go ahead and be blunt with this talking point. There are plenty of legitimate concerns about restructuring, but this isn't one of them. 2 out of the 3 states that they mention are almost world known for being some of the most expensive places to live in the United States. So if you compare 2 of the most expensive states to live in with the rest of the United States, you're going to get artificially inflated numbers just by the virtue that everything costs more in those states. Another fact that they mention is that in every single deregulated state, electrical prices have gone up. Let me go ahead and make a statement that is equally as true as the one I just said. In every single state that did not attempt to deregulate, prices have gone up. Prices have gone up on everything relative to what they were 20 years ago. I almost don't want to talk about it because this is stupid. They also talked about the Enron scandal. This is 100% misleading. The Enron scandal was big and did result in a lot of energy issues because Enron was an energy company, but it wasn't because they decided to deregulate electricity. It was because Enron was creating fraudulent accounts in order to deceive investors and inflate their market value on Wall Street. Measures were also taken to make sure that something like this wouldn't happen again, mainly the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, which was an act to protect investors from corporations performing fraudulent accounting activities, which is the actual cause of the Enron scandal, not deregulation of the electrical market. That's all the time I want to spend on that. It's so stupid. I don't know who's in charge of their ad campaign in 2016, but they should be fired for coming up with such weak arguments. Lastly, they don't really talk about anything. They just more try to scare you into not voting yes on question 3. They say question 3 could lead to an immediate and severe increase in electrical rates for residential customers, and I did want to round back to a previous topic we discussed about this being an amendment and not a law. The amendment says that laws must be put in place by July 1st, 2023. So within the next at least 2 years, you're most likely not going to see any difference in prices or service providers in Nevada unless NV Energy tried to bribe the Nevada Public Utilities Commission to raise prices to scare people into believing that Question 3 was a cause of it. But corrupt politicians? I don't think I've ever heard of such a thing, so I guess we'll be fine. In all seriousness, there is no real solid answer to what you should vote. Other states that attempted deregulation have had successes and failures. A yes vote would definitely be a risk in electrical prices, but with every risk, there is a payoff if it goes well. Prices could go down if you vote yes, but they could also go up. If you vote no, prices will definitely not go up, but they will also definitely not go down. Along with the yes vote, it would also incentivize companies to invest in improving the infrastructure we already have. However, that could be thwarted by laws that legislatures put in place to artificially lower prices in Nevada. I appreciate you watching and you being an informed voter. November 6th is the date, so you have until then to decide on what you want to vote. We don't usually make videos about political issues. Most of the time our videos are about gaming and tech news. Electricity is kind of related to tech, so that was the reasoning of this video. I don't know if it was a reach, but here it is. So if you want to keep up with gaming and tech news, subscribe. It would really help out and make me happy. So thanks. Bye.